Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Bestowal Talks, the podcast where we simplify technology, decode complex business challenges, and bring you real stories of digital transformation. I'm your host, Alina, and here we talk about everything from SAP and supply chain strategy to automation, AI-driven workflows, and the future of intelligent enterprises. Every episode is designed to help business leaders, IT professionals, and innovators understand how smart systems can unlock efficiency, reduce costs, and accelerate growth without the jargon overload. And today, we're diving into one of the biggest strategic battles companies fight every single day, the constant tug of war between reducing operational costs and maximizing profitability. Most companies think they're optimizing because their machines run efficiently or because logistics costs are low. But behind the scenes, hidden penalties, service failures, excess inventory, expired stock, and lost revenue tell a very different story. To break down this problem and unpack a truly smarter way of planning, we have a special guest, Vishal, one of the top experts in SAP IBP supply planning and optimization-driven planning. Vishal, welcome to Bestowal Talks.
Thank you, Alina. I'm glad to be here. And you're absolutely right. Companies today operate inside massive interconnected ecosystems. Margins are thin, volatility is high, and the stakes are enormous. What seems like a small inefficiency in production or scheduling can quickly cascade into millions of dollars lost downstream. The good news is there is a solution. And today, we're going to break it down step by step, particularly through the lens of the SAP IBP Time Series Supply Planning Optimizer, which has become the modern backbone for companies wanting to transition from reactive firefighting to proactive, financially intelligent planning.
Let's start with the painful truth. Why do our legacy planning systems fail so consistently?
The number one reason is simple. They are cost blind. Most ERPs and traditional planning tools use simplistic rules like priority codes, static service levels, FIFO scheduling, planner overrides based on experience. But none of these methods consider the financial impact of each decision. They assume all products are equal, all orders have the same importance, all delays carry the same risk, all customers generate the same value. And of course, none of that is true.
Exactly. In reality, a delay for one customer might cost nothing, while a delay for another could jeopardize multi-million-dollar contracts.
Right? And this outdated way of planning leads to what we call cost silos. Production tries to minimize production cost. Logistics tries to reduce freight. Procurement tries to reduce purchase price. But nobody looks at the total cost outcome. What you end up with is the perfect example of local optimization causing global damage.
This brings us to one of the most important concepts in optimization planning, the non-delivery cost. Let's dig deeper.
Absolutely. The non-delivery cost is the heart of financial optimization. Think of it as the financial truth behind missing an order. Traditionally, companies only calculated penalties as late fees, contract fines, SLA breaches. But the true cost of non-delivery includes 1. Losing the customer's trust. 2. Losing future purchase volume. 3. Losing shelf space at retail. 4. Losing rebates or incentives. 5. Damaging the brand. 6. Jeopardizing long-term revenue streams. When the finance team accurately quantifies all of this, the non-delivery cost becomes a powerful numeric value that tells the optimizer, this order is extremely valuable. Protect it at all costs.
So, if my product earns $2 in profit, but losing that customer costs $3 in long-term value, the optimizer will spend anything below $3 to protect the relationship.
Exactly. That's financially intelligent planning. You can't get this with manual rules. You can't get it with gut feeling. You can only get it through a mathematical optimizer grounded in real, certified cost inputs.
Let's take a step back for listeners. What exactly is the SAP IBP Optimizer trying to achieve?
Great question. The optimizer has a single global objective. Minimize the total cost of the entire plan. Not the cost of a single machine. Not the cost of one warehouse. Not transportation alone. but the total cost of the entire end-to-end system across all time periods. To do this, it simultaneously balances 7 key cost categories. In operational costs, 1. Production cost rate, 2. Procurement cost rate, 3. Transportation cost rate, 4. Inventory holding cost rate. In penalty costs, 5. Non-delivery cost rate, 6. Late delivery cost rate, 7. Safety stock violation cost rate.
It's like having a CFO embedded inside the planning system.
That's exactly the point. Every decision the optimizer makes is financially justified. Instead of subjective prioritization, we move to objective, mathematical priority.
Let's walk through a real detailed example. Imagine we have 2 suppliers. Supplier A is cheap but constrained. Supplier B is expensive but available. Traditional planning always goes with supplier A first to save cost, right?
Exactly. But this often leads to disaster when supplier A cannot fulfill high-value orders. In IBP, the optimizer evaluates the margin of the product, the non-delivery cost, the penalty for cutting demand, the cost to use supplier B, the downstream impact on logistics, inventory, and capacity. If a high-margin product is at risk, the optimizer will immediately buy from supplier B, ensure strategic customers are always served, reduce or cut low-margin demand if needed.
This is what we mean when we say the optimizer protects shareholder value. Let's talk about production lines. Line A is equal to cheap. Line B is equal to expensive. Line C is equal to extremely expensive external contract manufacturing. Traditional planning avoids line C at all costs. But IBP might choose line C, right?
Yes, and with good reason. If not using line C means missing a high-value order, the optimizer will use line C without hesitation. Because the non-delivery cost far outweighs the extra production cost, it can even produce on line C today to avoid safety stock violations later, a future late penalty, losing customer loyalty. These are decisions humans struggle to make consistently, but the optimizer does it in milliseconds.
Inventory is where planners often make emotional decisions. Let's produce more to be safe. Let's stock up because capacity later might be tight.
Exactly, and this leads to bloated inventories, tied up cash, and enormous carrying cost. The optimizer removes emotion from the equation. If holding cost is greater than late penalty, then delay production. If holding cost is less than risk of non-delivery, then produce early. If stock violates safety, then fix immediately. If overproduction increases working capital, then reduce output. This creates a balanced, lean, financially justified inventory plan.
Technology is the enabler, but people are the challenge.
Absolutely. The transition from manual planning to optimization planning fundamentally reshapes the role of planners. Instead of machine schedulers, they become financial decision analysts, scenario designers, risk evaluators, bottleneck investigators, business partners to finance and procurement. Finance must now quantify non-delivery cost, value customer retention, calculate margin erosion risks, estimate long-term revenue impact. Procurement must maintain accurate tiered supplier pricing, model MOQ versus price breaks, negotiate contracts with cost rate clarity. Supply chain must update resource capacities, track real-time changeovers, maintain correct BOM data.
It requires interconnected ownership. IBP is not a supply chain tool. It's an enterprise tool. Now, let's explore the strategic side scenarios. Companies often make multi-million-dollar decisions without proper modeling.
Exactly. With IBP Optimizer, you can run scenarios such as Scenario 1, wherein A tariff increases raw material procurement cost by 20%. The optimizer instantly recalculates which products remain profitable, which orders to cut, which suppliers to switch to, whether to accelerate or delay production, how capacity should shift globally. Now in Scenario 2, the port congestion doubles transportation cost. The optimizer evaluates alternative lanes, using air freight strategically, pre-building inventory, fulfilling from alternate DCs, absorbing versus passing on cost. Next, in scenario 3, there is a sudden surge in demand for strategic products. The optimizer shifts capacity by cutting low-margin orders, reallocating raw materials, producing in high-speed lines, using external capacity, adjusting safety stock levels, considering scenario 4, that is evaluating a new supplier contract. Finance often debates, is this supplier really worth it? IBP answers instantly. Total annual cost impact, effect on service, effect on margins, effect on working capital. And last scenario, wherein workforce shortage reduces weekly capacity. The optimizer automatically reschedules production, reduces low-value demand, reprioritizes strategic orders, evaluates overtime versus penalties. This level of intelligence transforms planning from reactive chaos into strategic control.
Vishal, everything we've discussed leads to one powerful transformation. Supply chains are no longer cost centers.
Exactly. When implemented correctly, the SAP IBP time series optimizer delivers 1. Higher profit margins, because production and supply decisions protect the most profitable demand. 2. Reduced operating costs, because costly firefighting like expedited freight is no longer needed. 3. Stronger customer relationships, because strategic customers are never put at risk. 4. Better working capital, because inventory is financially justified, not emotionally driven. 5. Faster, smarter decision-making, because the optimizer provides proofs, not opinions. 6. Intelligent risk forecasting, because what-if scenarios show the best path before disruptions hit.
This conversation has been eye-opening. We often talk about efficiency, but rarely about financially optimized efficiency. The SAP IBP Optimizer finally bridges that gap.
Absolutely. If I could leave listeners with one thought, it's this. Your supply chain decisions are financial decisions. So, your planning system must be financially intelligent. With the IBP Optimizer, companies finally gain the mathematical engine needed to support that truth.
Vishal, thank you for the depth and clarity you brought today.
My pleasure. And to all the planners, executives, and supply chain leaders listening now is the time to start your optimization journey. And that's why scenario modeling becomes the backbone of strategic decision making. But before we wrap, there are a few more critical aspects I want you to understand, especially since you're already thinking long-term about how this will influence your planning cycles.
I'm ready. Every time we talk, I feel like new layers of clarity open up. Please continue.
Great. One important piece we haven't explored deeply yet is how the optimizer interacts with financial objectives. Most planners believe it only reduces cost or balances demand and supply, but it can actually align your entire supply chain with business profitability goals.
Interesting. So, it's not just operational, but financial too?
Exactly. For example, suppose the business wants to increase contribution margin this quarter. The optimizer can rank sourcing decisions, production plans, and distribution flows according to profitability, not only cost minimization.
That's powerful. It means IBP doesn't just tell me what's feasible, it tells me what's strategically profitable.
Yes, and that's where many companies completely transform their planning behavior. Instead of reactive firefighting, they proactively choose the paths that maximize financial performance while maintaining service levels.
When you talk about contribution margin optimization, is it possible to incorporate revenue priorities or penalty costs for lost sales?
Absolutely. SAP IBP lets you model penalties for stockouts, penalties for late delivery, premium inventory, holding costs for certain SKUs, margin-based prioritization, revenue uplift for priority customers, contractual service level compliance penalties. Because these values translate into mathematical cost factors, the optimizer naturally gravitates toward decisions that avoid unnecessary cost exposure.
So, Basically, IBP helps me make decisions aligned with the business's financial KPIs, not just supply chain KPIs.
Exactly. Think of it as translating business strategy into mathematical precision.
Can you share another real-life scenario where this kind of optimization made a huge impact?
Sure. I worked with a specialty chemicals company. They had 3 blending plants with different capabilities, labor costs, and capacity profiles. Every quarter, they struggled with meeting demand during planned maintenance shutdowns. So, we used IBP Optimizer to shift volume to alternate plants, prioritize profitable product families, dynamically adjust safety stock, pre-build inventory in a cost-efficient window, balance overtime versus alternate sourcing. Within the first 2 cycles, they increased service level from 90% to 98%, reduced unplanned overtime by 40%, lowered distribution costs significantly, eliminated stockouts in high-margin categories.
That's exactly the kind of challenge we face too. Seasonal demand plus constraints, plus cost trade-offs.
Right? And IBP gives you the mathematical clarity to navigate all these forces consistently.
Honestly, knowing a system can evaluate millions of possibilities gives me so much comfort. But what about planner override? We do have situations where local market knowledge matters.
And IBP respects that. You can override recommendations at any level: production, sourcing, deployment, inventory, demand prioritization, and then rerun the optimizer to see the ripple effect.
So I still have control, but with intelligent support.
Exactly. The system is the advisor. You remain the decision maker.
One more question: does the optimizer always give one single best answer?
Technically, yes, but sometimes the best answer is not the only feasible one. So, IBP actually provides the optimal solution, alternative feasible allocations, constraint explanation logs, and a breakdown of bottlenecks.
That means I can understand why a certain plan was chosen, not just accept it blindly.
Exactly. Transparency is built into the engine.
What about the future? How do you see supply planning evolving?
Great question. The next big shift is convergence, not just time series and order-based planning coming together, but planning and execution unifying into a single real-time loop. We're moving toward autonomous decision algorithms, AI-driven adjustments, planning cycles shrinking from weekly, daily, hourly, predictive exception resolution, AI-driven parameter tuning, real-time supply chain twins.
That sounds amazing. Planning will become more intelligent, more predictive, and less repetitive.
Exactly. And planners like you move from making the plan to guiding the intelligence behind the plan.
Talking to you makes me feel like the supply chain of the future is not scary, it's exciting.
It truly is. And planners are becoming strategists. Your intuition, experience, and judgment combined with IBP's analytical power, that's an unbeatable combination.
I'm actually excited for our next IBP cycle now. That's new.
Ha ha ha, that's the goal. When technology lifts the burden, planners rediscover the joy of problem solving instead of drowning in firefighting.
Before we wrap, any final wisdom?
Yes, remember this: supply planning is not about finding a perfect plan. It's about finding the most feasible and profitable plan given uncertainty. IBP gives you the visibility, the scenarios, the optimizer, and the financial lens to consistently make the right choices.
Wow. What an incredible deep dive. Vishal, thank you so much for bringing clarity, logic, and real-world perspective to a topic that so many planners struggle with. Understanding optimization is one thing, but understanding how it drives profitability, service excellence, and strategic decision-making, that's what truly sets companies apart.
My pleasure, Alina. And to everyone listening, the future of supply chain isn't complicated. It's intelligent. Start small, follow the financial truth, and let optimization guide your decisions.
Absolutely. And if today's conversation sparked ideas for your organization, or if you're thinking, can IBP solve our planning challenges? Can we model these scenarios for our supply chain? Or how do we get started with optimization-driven planning? You don't have to figure it out alone. At Bestowal Systems and Services, our consultants specialize in SAP IBP, workflow automation, and end-to-end supply chain transformation. Whether you're looking to improve your forecast accuracy, optimize production, streamline deployment, or build custom planning workflows, our experts are here to help you every step of the way. So, before you leave, hit subscribe to stay updated with more insightful conversations on SAP, supply chain, AI, and digital transformation. Share this episode with your team, especially your planning, operations, and finance colleagues. And if you want a custom solution or want our consultants to analyze your planning challenges, reach out to us. We'd love to partner with you. I'm Alina, this is Bestowal Talks, and we'll see you in the next episode. Until then, plan smart, optimize fearlessly, and keep transforming.